I think there's a lot of work to be done. That was a quote from Bob Bradley at his introductory press conference back in November. And I don't think any of us expected him to do this much work on the Toronto FC roster, which will look completely different ahead of this month's opening day. I'm Mitchell Tierney, and ahead on this week's show, we'll talk Josie, we'll talk Seba, we'll talk Arrow, we'll talk Jimenez and Lawrence, as well as the roster continues a large overhaul. We'll also be joined by Tagwa Moyo of Darby Magazine to chat being pitch side for Canada, USA, some TFC as well, sports photography, and plenty more, I'm sure. But first, Jeffrey P. Nesker and Michael Singh, what's up, boys?
What a day, boys. What a day. Just coasting on a vibe, man. Canada soccer right now is just such a vibe. It's absolutely fantastic. And now we get super excited about a new look, an entirely new look TFC, and try not to panic that maybe they're going to open the season with like maybe 5 rostered players. But
that seems to be the consensus right now, Jeff. Is there's only 5 rostered players on Toronto FC, but I mean, I've been on camera all morning, but I did get some new gadgets, which I'm very excited about to dive into after this show.
Nice.
Just a lot going on with me right now, positive, and in general with Toronto FC, there's a lot going around with the Reds right now as they're in Austin, Texas. Of course, just starting their second part of their training camp, and they're down a lot of guys that, I mean, I think there's most of them we expected not to be there, but then there's also a few surprises, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly. But yeah, guys, how you guys doing today?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a lot going on as always on this show. So, yeah, looking forward to talking to Tag. Looking forward to getting into it
because there's been a lot of surprises, man. I mean, the first 3 things on our rundown, I think, are monumental surprises, right? I don't know if we want to go in order, but you look at Taylor Twellman, who's sort of piggybacked on this news, saying that this deal's been in the works for a while. That's news to me. We're talking about Josie Altidore to the New England Revolution. I was surprised, shocked actually. One, that he's going to a team in MLS. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised because it is what he knows best, and he has been here for a while, and it is Bruce Arena. He's reuniting with probably the winningest coach that he played with under the U.S. men's national team. But the move itself, and then the length of the move, if we're to believe the rumors, I mean, it's another 3-year deal for Josie, who's probably got the best agent in all of sporting. So, that was a shock and a surprise.
Yeah, let's put it in context here. Obviously, plenty of reports since the start of the offseason for most of this year that Josie Altidore will be bought out. But now the revelation, started with Mark Stein.
The revelation to the revolution.
I love it. To the revolution. that Josie Altidore is in talks to sign a 3-year deal with the Revs, provided he can come to an agreement on a buyout with Toronto FC. I mean, maybe the biggest takeaway for me here, just to bundle the 2 biggest stories probably from this week for TFC, is the fact that in some weird roundabout way, Seba and Josie are leaving Toronto FC together. It's just really not how we expected it to happen, and it's a bit of a weird one.
You never know with those 2. You absolutely never know with those 2. It's always chaos. So yeah.
Let's go one at a time. So
yeah, we should still, yeah.
The Josie Altidore. As you mentioned, reports are that he will be bought out from Toronto FC. That's what I'm hearing as well, is that they are going to be finalizing that buyout with Josie Altidore before the start of the season. Of course, getting that salary relief. Been a long time coming, as I reported. Honestly, it feels like an eternity ago, but TFC made the decision a long time ago that Josie Altidore wouldn't be back with the team as a designated player. Of course, they're going to dot some I's, cross some T's, in order to get that done. And it seems like it's right around the corner now. So keep an eye out for an official announcement, like I said, before the start of the season, which is like 2 weeks away, which is crazy. But one interesting thing I want to touch on, and I think it's worth mentioning, is there are reports out there from really credible sources that Jozy Altidore's contract doesn't run until 2022. There's reports that his contract runs 2022 to 2023. He has two
Wow.
more guaranteed years left on his salary.
That would explain
But
some things.
but what I'm confused about and really scratching my head is I looked back at the announcement by TFC, and on the press release it said he's verbatim he signed a 3-year contract extension through 2022.
Yeah.
So there's a disconnect there. Fabrizio reported he has 2 years left. Jeff Carlisle reported he had 2 years left of guaranteed salary on his deal, and that to me just it doesn't add up. But it also makes sense as to why TFC want to get out of that contract, even more so if he does have 2 years left, because obviously they're trying to turn a corner here. Now, Jozy did the New England Revolution. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, on the one hand, I'm petrified because Jozy Altidore, he's going to come back
with the chip on his
vengeance,
shoulder. Yeah.
And he's going to be playing in a system where he doesn't necessarily have to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the starting number 9. Of course, they have Buxa there and Gustavo Bo, who are very good in their own right and are going to be starting for that team. So if Jozy turns into that super sub in which we've always wanted to see here at Toronto FC, if he does that for Bruce Arena in New England, of course, New England just won the Supporters' Shield in Major League Soccer there, so they have a very, very good squad. Watch out, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Jozy resurges and gets 10 to 15 goals next season if he plays a certain role.
Yeah.
I mean, Books is on his way out, right? Let's call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
The rumors is that he's not long for this league, so this could be a CCL play for the Union. Get him in that Ilsino kind of, in that Ilsino kind of role, and then when Buxa goes, maybe hopefully Jozy can step up and eat his minutes. But I mean,
not a bad CCL play.
Let's not bury the lead. It's not a bad CCL play. Let's not bury the lead here. They play on one of the worst surfaces in the history of humankind.
Yep.
And Jozy's not so good on turf. So, a part of that calculation has to include your home ground is his kryptonite, and he's not exactly been healthy for the last little while. So there's a lot here. I mean, it is a bit MLS shenanigans that, if we instigate the buyout, we can't be really crying over spilt milk that he's signing for TAM somewhere else. And it will hurt, if he accepts that super sub role at New England and he was so aghast about it here, it'll hurt. It probably won't be a huge surprise. But through a 3-year deal, I mean, have they been paying attention? I love the man, but they've been paying attention, right? Like it just seems more power to them if they're willing to take the risk. But Bradley Wright Phillips didn't get a 3-year deal to go apply his trade at the Columbus Crew when they were coming off an MLS Cup championship. So once again, my hat's off to Jozy's agent, because he seems to be able to get just the best deals for his client. It's quite unbelievable.
Well, maybe they were able to get him at a lower ticket if they guaranteed 3 years. Like that's probably part of it. Like we'll see what the salary numbers are before the 3-year deal looks as up and down as obviously now it looks on paper. I mean, we all probably would have agreed, signing Jozy to a 3-year deal, and obviously it seems like it's a 5-year deal now, but signing him to a 3-year deal back in 2019 wouldn't have been the best decision. So in 2021, signing Jozy Altidore to a 3-year deal looks kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting situation. Not a bad fit for him on paper, but like you said, on pitch, maybe this is like reverse Didier Drogba. Maybe he's only going to play away games because he won't be able to or won't want to play on the turf. But yeah,
who's going to tell Mitch it's 2022 now? Who's going to tell him?
Yeah.
It's okay. What is time anymore?
Yeah.
But yeah, it boggles the mind. I mean, more power to him. I've said it on the show about as many times as I can count. I do not expect Jozy Altidore to be the person to call time on his career. This is a man that has grown up from adolescence in professional soccer. I don't think it's in his wheelhouse to do that. His body's either going to break down or someone else has to tell him. So, more power to him for putting another putting in the forward perspective a very long runway for his career to wind down. Yeah, it's sad, and like Matthew's saying, I'm scared to death for his return to Toronto, because hell hath no fury like a Josie who believes that they were scorned, and I think we might be in for a few trolls to the south end, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, speaking
we'll
of,
see.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just wrapping this up, we'll see what his contract actually looks like. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have taken Josie Altidore at Toronto FC for under allocation money this year. I think that the biggest gripe is the 3-year term, especially playing on turf in New England. But we'll see how it plays out. And regardless, I don't want us to just be ripping on Josie this whole segment. Like, Josie's a TFC legend.
No,
yeah,
no, that's certainly
I
not.
hope.
I don't think that's what has been done, but yeah.
No, but I hope that we, not us personally, but Toronto FC, find a way to pay tribute to what Josie has done and set him off in a proper way. Like, regardless of that he's going to a competitor in Major League Soccer, this is a guy who could potentially have a statue outside Maple Field when everything's said and done. Like I said, soccer in Toronto, I'd say even Canada, wouldn't be where it is without Josie Altidore right now.
100%.
He's played a significant role in that, and he's a huge part of TFC's legacy. So we'll see kind of how this plays out. I wish him all the best. And hey, if he's succeeding, I'm not going to be salty about it, because this was the right time for both parties to move on. I think we can all agree that it didn't work out the last couple of years for both parties. So if a change of scenery is what Josie Altidore needs to get going, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to flip the coin.
Yeah, no, a player who we won't be seeing back at Toronto FC in any capacity next year, whether that's playing against the Reds or unless they have some really weird midseason schedule or midseason friendly schedule like they never do anymore. Sebastian Giovinco on his way to Sampdoria.
Whoa, Mitch, hold on. I wouldn't jump that far in saying you won't see him for sure at Toronto FC for this season. What we can say is we won't see Sebastian Giovinco for the rest of the Serie A season.
Ooh.
Let's leave it at that.
Interesting one.
Let's leave it
an
at
interesting
that.
one. All right. That's
I mean, are we going to leave it at that, or can I sort of set the table here a little bit?
Because I said let's leave it at that, Jeffrey.
Okay, no, let's leave it at that. We're done. Moving on to the the only thing I will say is that Seba's replacing a striker that recently went out for an injury, right? That's public knowledge. I can't.
Yeah, no,
can't
we can talk
pronounce his
about
name.
why we think he's making the move. But actually, why don't we break Tag on to talk about this? Because I see our boy waiting there in the wings, and I want to get Tag's take on Sebastian Giovinco. Tagwa, what's going on, brother?
I'm chilling. Thanks for having me. I've been pestering Mitch about getting my call to the show, so I'm happy Josie and Seb Talk are on my episode.
Let's go. Long overdue, man.
Got a pretty good episode to pull up to.
Honestly. No, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get your thoughts then off the top on what we've been discussing and introduce you as well. This is Tagwa Moyo from Darby Magazine and the Darby Cast. Gotta give him his proper flowers there. There's the hoodie. Love that. I should have worn mine. I forgot to. But yeah, just your thoughts on let's start with Josie. Like your thoughts on Josie's potential move to New England and what his legacy is with Toronto FC. Because obviously, this is a guy who scored on some of the biggest games in Toronto FC history, but also the last couple of years have been pretty complicated for their own reasons as well.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm a rare breed of TFC fans because in both regards, I can just answer it in one way. I'm happy both of them. Well, now Mike dropped a Mike bomb, or here we go about Seba, but I wasn't too angry about either of them leaving. I'm on the token of I'm so appreciative of what they did for us, and like especially Josie. Josie literally had the entire soccer world saying on a wave for like 3 months, 4 months. Like Seba did so much that brought like so much attention to like TFC and MLS that like now if you look at it, I don't even know how old both of them are, but they're not in their sunshine years anymore. Like they're not in their good productive years. So seeing them leave, like I never wanted Seba to come back this time. I never did. I think that would have tainted kind of what he done in the past, because football fans are not rational. Their sense of reality is flawed. So Seba's obviously not going to have the same input as he did last time he was here. But that's what people are going to want. So, or he might, and I could be wrong, but I'm just happy about Insigne. And with Josie, again, it makes no sense him going to New England, but I'm happy we don't have to deal with like every 3 months a Josie TFC front office beef that I just have to hear from West Coast and Montrealers about how my team is in shambles every 3 months. So that's nice.
Yeah.
That'll be some relief there. You mentioned Seba and kind of his legacy, and we might not be talking about Lorenzo Insigne as part of Toronto FC right now if it wasn't for the ground that Seba kind of laid in front of him
100%.
as an Italian, and that proof of concept, and it's something Bill Manning touched on in terms of they did have that proof of concept. So let me ask you about Lorenzo Insigne now. When you heard about the news, man, like what was your reaction, and what do you think he'll bring to this Toronto FC team?
We're winning it all. That is my mindset. No, I'm serious. Yes, I still think we have a decent amount of pieces. We got the center, but I think Insigne is levels. Like we've seen him in Serie A, we've seen him do it in Euros, we've seen him do it, and not like we've seen him do it 3-4 years ago. We've seen him do it a few months ago, as recent as that. So I
Tag, what happens when months feel like years?
Time is a social construct, you see.
Good answer, pal.
But no, I within a little bit more realistic, I think he's gonna do a lot. I think it's like you're saying, it's gonna have a long-term effect, and I feel like there's gonna be now other players who are in similar situations that are gonna look at Insigne and be like, oh, okay, like this is an option. And I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for him, but I do think he's going to put on a show, and I think he can carry if he needs to. And it's not like we don't have Pozuelo. It's not like we don't have Oso. It's not like we don't have guys that are still really.
You couldn't name the rest of the TFC roster because everyone's gone.
Yeah, that's it. That was it. That's the entire TFC roster.
I want them to sign Caden, because Caden Chung, that would be a fire. But no, even just those three alone. I'll take Pozuelo, Oso, and Insigne over any three in the MLS.
Wow.
Give me a three that you think would be better.
Sam Piet.
Well, man, the New England Revolution are looking pretty good.
He said hi, Tag, so I like Sam now. But honestly, give me a three. And we have Chris Mavinga and I forget I'm gonna butcher it.
Carlos Salcedo.
Salcedo. Yeah.
It's again, there's a lot more pieces that need to fall in place, and but who has a better three than that? Pozuelo, even two. I know I'm keeping Oso there because he's Canadian, but Pozuelo and Insigne, that's insane.
Yeah, Insigne is worth two players, so I'm with you there.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't add it MLSE, they're like, yo, we can't afford another terrible attendance here. Let's blow the bag, and every game will be sold out. I will be there during this first game. I already told MLS, I'm shooting that first month he's back. So it's gonna be exciting.
Damn right.
Yeah, Jeff, you have a question.
I mean, yeah. I'll just go. What's it been like shooting soccer in a pandemic?
Man, it sucks. The amount of COVID tests that I have had to do, it's bad. I used to be worried about COVID tests, but now it's literally, I'm like, hey, because before every game, before every training session, depending on who I'm shooting for, I have to get tested. So that's the biggest pain. It's also was a really cool experience that I'm happy I was able to like I shot a bunch of Whitecaps games, and I shot games with no fans in the crowd, and it was just kind of weird, you know.
Mhm.
So like that was an experience that like I'm happy I was able to document. But I'm very happy that like slowly things seem like they're getting back to normal and fans are there at least. Um, um, Maybe being able to shoot tunnels again will be nice, but shooting during COVID has been like an experience. But I'm just happy I was able to kind of work, you know, and be able
Yeah,
to
yeah, true enough.
get back to
True
it.
enough.
Some
What
of
was
your
the
best
most different?
pictures. Go ahead,
No,
Jeff.
sorry.
I was just gonna say
Well,
some
what
of the
was
best pictures include like fans,
Yeah,
right? Like,
truth?
football
Truth.
nothing without
that,
them.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that must
yeah.
be
Definitely.
tough to kind of change up your view and everything. But yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I mean, when you're walking around with like all your gear strapped to you, you must use the fans as cues. So when you're in like an empty stadium, you probably miss a lot of action because there's no cheering, and it just sets your whole workflow on fire. But not to answer the question for you, but what was that the most different thing about shooting in a pandemic, or was it the minutia of like you have to enter at this gate at this time and then just leave, and no washrooms for you and that kind of stuff? Or
I'll on a funny note, the worst part was they stopped giving us photographers food. So if anyone wants to change that, and
Yep.
they there was a point where they wouldn't let us go up to the where the fancy journalist people go and have their food.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
Hey,
Come on, I'm one of those fancy journalists.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking. That was a subtweet to you and Mitch. Mitch is just used to my stray bullets. They don't even hit him anymore. They're just like deflect. It hurts. But no, I'd say on a serious note, it wasn't that difficult because, like, the same. Yes, fans are very key and very important, and like, but at the end of the day, it was just still shooting. And it was
Mhm.
kind of a little bit better because in the one regard of I was focused on the game the entire time.
Right.
I'm not
right.
looking at the stands. I'm not looking, talking to the fans, like cheering with the fans as I usually do, which can lead me to miss shots. I apologize for the times I miss shots for y'all. But yeah, it was just you're able to get more dialed. The backgrounds never looked as nice because there was no people. But yeah, I'd say it kind of was a little bit like you could focus more and just zone in because you don't have someone yelling, "Hey, photographer!"
Yeah.
That was me
Yeah.
at the Canada USA game.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, every time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never know, but yeah, it's a cool experience again, like I said, and I don't want to ever do it again. Have to do it again, but and I can also be done with getting tested every game, but yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but do you think that it's made you a better photographer?
That was that I don't I think so, yeah, because it made me kind of not rely on the fans in the back because that can like when you're shooting at a game, right? Like for example with Tim Hortons Field, the first questions I had when I found out that it was going to 12,000 was, are there going to be 12,000 fans? Are there
Mhm.
going to be fans on both sides? Because then I just would only shoot into the fans, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. Whereas like for however many months there was no fans, so I had to kind of figure out how to take engaging photos that didn't rely on the background, didn't rely on kind of just like the fan aspect of things, and just focus on
Yeah.
soccer. So yeah, I guess it helped in that regard. Yeah.
Sweet.
You added a question for me here, which is you did mention Caden Chung, who's on trial with Toronto FC, and considering you've been to a lot of Pacific games and you've seen him play a lot, what can we expect from Caden, and why should Toronto FC sign him? Do you think?
Yeah, no, he's just a modern day like fullback. He can get up and down. He's not afraid to pull out of a 50-50. He's creative offensively as well, which is good. And he's Canadian. He's Canadian, so like he's Canadian, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
For a second, I was like, that could have been the howler of the show.
Don't worry, you got
Mitch,
Jeff.
He
You can't.
had like
you
a little
can't
facial.
pull up
He had a facial peak, and I was
Yeah.
like, no way is he not Canadian. But
Yeah.
so, I just think like it's a perfect kind of fitting, and seeing Lucas McNaughton, who also made the move from Pacific, I think that's exactly what you want with the CPL, right? Um,
Mhm.
like McNaughton is 27 and getting his shout at ML, like that's what the CPL is all about. I wish I would have tried out Mitch like we said I should, because who
Mhm.
knows? I could have replaced Bones.
Yeah, we could have been interviewing you in a completely different capacity right
In a
now.
completely different
Yeah.
capacity. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, again, this could be the howler of the show if I get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure Caden Chung played on that U17 Canada team that beat Marcus Rashford in England. Same team with Fikayo Tomori was on that team. Famously was the captain of that team.
What a
And
goal.
England, and then
Yeah,
England was immediately like, why are we letting you shut down Marcus Rashford when you could be playing for us?
Yeah.
Big mistake from that guy. Anyway,
Fact
Tomori
check
I'm
me.
pretty sure
Someone in the
Caden
chat
Chung
fact check
scored
me.
in that game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Ian,
please
you're
fact check me.
doubling down. You got
Yeah,
the
I'm pretty sure he
goal
scored. I'm pretty sure he
too.
scored. So we'll see. I'm gonna fact check this myself, but yeah, if one of you guys has a question, well, I like
That's
Well,
a
to
good
just
Google
also-
there.
tidbit.
yeah.
That's a good tidbit.
Mike, do you wanna ask Mitchell's question since he's on his phone?
No, I'm gonna skip Mitch's question because I want to know more about Tag and what you're doing. Like, you got a platform right now. Tell the people what you're up to because I want to learn more about what you're doing. This is Guy's a former Wake in the Red photographer. He's gone on to do bigger and better things. So, Tag, what are you up to?
Yeah, nah, I'm just I've been shooting a lot. It's been good. Working with MLS and stuff. I've been focusing on Darby as well. Which is mine and Mitch's publication with AK Ketsia,
No, wrong side.
Jisoo. Yeah, and we've just been working on that, kind of spreading the community, telling stories, and just kind of getting ready for 2026. That's really what I'm excited about. Just kind of building communities, highlighting people, and telling stories. Because y'all kind of opened my eyes to, like, when I was with Waking the Red, that like the footy culture and like the supporters of Waking the Red. Like, I was like, there's so many stories within just like fans and people that read it, and so that kind of is what got me into it. But yeah, no, I've just been shooting. Like 99% going to Costa Rica. 'Cause
Okay.
I want to be there
Okay.
for, yeah, I want to be there for when they qualify. So hopefully they don't take me to Panama. I don't want to go all the way there. But yeah, that's kind of, the mag is coming very, very soon. And this one, I always feel like, because this, like, it's kind of like a media tour. I've been on another podcast and I was like, when you watch a musician do an interview and they're like, this is my best album yet. This is literally Darby's best issue yet. So I'm like super excited about that because we were able to kind of do everything we wanted to, which is tell like stories of people who a lot of people know of, but then we've also been able to tell stories about kind of collegiate level players and local communities, that local community figures that have been doing stuff. So I'm excited for this one to come out. That's what I've been doing. A lot of shooting, a lot of getting texts from Mitch reminding me to do stuff for Darby. But yeah, it's a fun time.
I got a
Well, yeah, I'm
question for
happy you
for the
said.
two of you. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I was gonna
Just
say, happy you
interrupting
said the third edition will be your best edition because you can find your boy in Darby Magazine.
Talk
Come the
about it.
third edition
Not too much
there.
though. Don't talk about it too much though.
I don't want to talk about it too much, but there is an interview that I'm sure TFC fans will pay a lot of attention to. I'm sure you guys will like that. So make sure you guys pick up that third edition of Darby whenever it does drop. Written by yours truly, and they made it look really pretty. I saw the layout of it and they made my writing look good, and that's not very easy to do. So looking forward to kind of seeing that finished product.
Thank you.
I got a question for Mitch and Tagwa, since I got you both here. Why a magazine? Why a magazine in 2022? I get asked this quite often when I talk about Darby, and I have my own ideas, but I'd like to hear it directly from the Brain Trust.
I think there's still like a lot of people have asked us that as well, and asked us why don't we do this in a digital space? But there's just something still about picking up a physical thing, and like this isn't your traditional magazine like where it's coming out every month. Like this is almost, it's more of a book. Like we really take the photography and the visuals super seriously, and like the quality of print needs to be all there, and obviously the written as well. But like this one is is a visual storytelling tool, and that's why we need the magazine platform, because it just fits that so well.
Tag.
What you said. It's just no, but it's kind of it grabs your attention, right? Because
Mhm.
everyone has a blog. Not as good as Wake in the
Whoa,
Red, but everyone
whoa.
has. No,
There
I
you go.
said there's a lot of people. Especially like everyone can kind of do, but I feel like when you can actually physically hold the magazine, and obviously, recently we launched kind of our first web kind of piece with in partnership with NextGen. Shout out to NextGen and all the work they're doing out in Kitchener Waterloo with the community. But I just thought that the magazine was the best way to kind of really grab people's attention. And again, like Mitch said, it's not a magazine really; it's like a book. It's got pictures. It's a picture book, but it's also got
Mhm.
really amazing words.
Hey,
That
Jeff, you can read it now.
Well, you hit on it, and I just want to elaborate that you know, when we're talking about like a gallery print, which is what the magazine is in a sense, right? The quality of paper is important. The ability for the ink to display true color on that paper stock is important. So that's yet another point behind, you know, the idea of a magazine versus an upload to the internet where everybody's monitor is calibrated differently, et cetera, ad infinitum.
I have a funny point though. Darby initially was supposed to be a storefront. Like
Mm.
when I first came up with the idea of Darby, it was because I was in fourth year and I was like, I want to do something with soccer, and I was like, I can't buy cleats anywhere. Let me open up a store. And then I went on Nike and Adidas and like looked at how much it costs to get like boots at wholesale and that, and I was like, all right, let's pivot to a magazine. Let's switch it over because it's expensive. Storefront properties expensive,
Mhm.
but that still is something that we want to be doing. But we wanted to start with the magazine and kind of you can go from there, um, doing whatever
If you
after
had
that.
to, you know, is it what are the influences? Is it 442? Is it Panini sticker books? Like what
Yeah,
sort of
I'd
comes
say
into the
a lot of it is Mundial, 442, 8x8 over in America. They
okay?
inspired a lot. Soccer Bible. But yeah, like Mundial and Soccer Bible, I'd say personally, because you see Gaffer, because they
Hmm.
started out as magazines and then now look at them, right?
Right.
They're able to tell stories through so many mediums, and that's something that we want to be able to do. Um, and bring a community together like no other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I don't know where I was going, but yeah.
No, you got it. You got it. It's interesting. I mean, it's great because traditional, you know, we keep hearing about traditional media dying and everything getting digitized, and yet people are still buying vinyl records like they're going out of style, myself included. And there's something to be said for the tactile experience of holding something in your hand. You know, the more society becomes this like disposable, you know, media is consumed instantly and then just disappears into the ether, the more there's going to be a demand to hold something physical in your hand. And you know, it's nice to be on the vanguard of that. I've said this to Mitch. I've said it to you. Like, you know, it's great. It's wonderful. It's meaningful. It has a place in the Canada soccer mosaic.
And doubling down on that, a lot of our photos were taken on film, so they have like a lot of it feels like you open it and it doesn't seem like just like, oh, those pores aren't there anymore. Like you
Hmm.
can see like that's one thing that we're keen on. It's like even from visuals, like we want it to like with the film, you have to load that up and you have to like make sure everything is perfect, right? So it's a lot of like stuff that goes into it that kind of doesn't really, it doesn't seem important, but like when you see a film photo that's like perfectly composed and whatnot, um it just adds to the element of the words that like we have from Mike and from Mitch that we try and kind of do.
And I think like
Uh,
attention's a big one, like just in a general context, like these are stories that we consider super important and that need to be
mhm.
told. And you can't scroll in a magazine, right? Like you
Nope.
can't just scroll up, you can't click exit. Like you're sitting down, you're looking at those pages, you're taking in that information in a way that I don't think you do when you on digital always. And obviously it's different, but I think that is a key to the magazine format.
there's a permanence to it. I mean, you know, some people are mimetic learners, some people are visual learners, some people are tactile learners. So you know, it's a nice thing to have as a physical object. I mean, it's certainly got a pride of place on my bookshelf behind me, and I'm sure everybody else. We had a question from the galley, which is where does one procure a copy of Darby Magazine? So I suppose now is as good a time as any to throw out the URL for our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, plug your stuff, Dag.
You can get it on our website, so darbymag.com. Just head to our shop, and we are selling a few of our issue ones. Our numbering system is a little confusing, but we have our last issue still up there, and very soon you'll be able to get a copy of issue 2, our third magazine, very soon on darbymag.com. But you can also we're working to get it in shops, so that people
sweet.
can go pick it up. Like in Vancouver, you can pick up a copy from Macy's in North Van,
Nice.
and you can pick up a copy from Low Ends if you're in Windsor right now. So we will be expanding that within Toronto and Montreal, hopefully. But yeah, as of right now, the go-to place is darbymag.com.
Fantastic. Do you want to talk about soccer for a bit?
I like soccer a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, do you have any more questions, or I think we'll move on here just for the last? Because I know you gotta bounce, Mike.
Yeah, I got to bounce just now. No, but I loved what Tag was saying. I love what he was talking about, and I'm excited to see kind of how not only the issue 2, I guess we'll call it the 3rd edition, but issue 2. I want to see what else you're shooting, man, in the future, because anything that you touch, man, has been turning to gold. I know you're doing some good work with MLS. I saw a little bit with Canada Soccer as well, so I just want to see kind of where you're going, where this ascension takes you, and I'll be keeping a close eye, my guy.
No, thank you. I do have some projects coming up, but legally I can't. But there is some stuff. Mitch even helped out. We went up to KW to shoot some stuff, so there is some fire that Mitch and I cooked up together.
Did you cook up Arby's? I hear they have Arby's in Kitchener.
No, I will never go to Arby's.
Oh,
No,
dude. Dude.
Yeah. All right. We'll let you go.
We just
here,
lost
Tag.
Arby's as a sponsor.
Yeah. Way to go, Tag. Yeah. Way to go.
Are they a sponsor?
If I'm like,
No,
they're not. No.
They should.
I wish. Tag was trying so hard to avoid the howler.
Mike took such a big swig of his water.
Yeah.
Mitch had his disappointment facing at me. I get that.
I'm just disappointed that you didn't like Arby's.
Yeah. I was disappointed that you didn't like Arby's.
Yo, I just ruined the bag so bad.
Yeah, but before we let you go, Tag, I did realize that it was an under 20 game. I did that fact check, but it was Caden Chung and Marco Bustos who actually scored a 2-1 win over the England U20s. So the Pacific connection there.
The big boys making noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Best team in Vancouver.
But yeah, we will let you go. Make sure to check out the Darby Cast, by the way. I'm on the most recent edition, so it's a good place to have some familiarity as you get your start. But they've had some amazing guests, Richie Larea.
Great interview.
Kamal.
Yeah, there's some awesome Kamal Miller. Yeah. There's been some really cool ones over the years. So
real quick, and for Black History Month, we are doing a series called Color the Commentary, where we have folks that are working in football, whether they be athletes, photographers, fashion folks. So next episode is coming out very soon.
That's the Sportsnet one, right? I was waiting for you to tag.
Oh no, the Sportsnet one. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did something.
So busy, Tagwa. Unbelievable.
I just wasn't sure because it wasn't soccer related, so I was like, I don't know. And
it's Tagwa related.
I haven't even posted on my socials yet because it's been busy. But yeah, no, I did a piece with Elijah Balde. I do believe that's how you say his last name. But I
don't know. You did the piece on him, so I'm deferring.
I just call him Elijah. I just call him Elijah. I just had to formally say it. But no, I did a piece with him, and he's actually in Beijing. He grew up. He was a competitive figure skater. He's black, which is rare in that sport.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to him about kind of just like his experiences within that sport, and kind of was able to go down to Calgary take photos. He does backflips
Amazing.
on ice. And it is the craziest thing to see, but the most aggressive thing to hear, because every time he does a backflip, his like skates like go in the
Yeah,
ice, and it's
they
scary.
tear into that sucker. Yeah,
But no, it's just really cool. Kind of like that's what I like to do, being able to like tell us kind of those type of stories and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I have that coming up, and I have a bunch of stuff coming within the next couple of weeks too. But yeah,
terrific. Can't wait to
Oh,
see
yeah,
it all.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for joining us, Tag.
Good to see you, Tag. We'll see you around,
Tag.
buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll for sure be following up with Tag later today. But yeah,
My goodness.
Mike, before you go, just so we can get the latest from you. Anything pressing you wanted to get off before you take off for TFC press
Anything
conference?
pressing? See what
You
I
already
can.
had one mic bomb there, yeah.
Yeah, let's see what I can dish out here. So what I'll say here is Toronto FC's roster currently stands, I believe, at around 20, officially 24. That'll get cut down to about 21 by the time they probably make some signings from their training camp. You're looking at 24, I'm guessing. So just take a look at who's on trial there with the club, and I'd expect that a couple of them probably do crack the first team, including someone like a Caden Chung, and also they have another kid. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but the kid from the USL League One or USL who plays as a left back, and I think he won like Defender of the Year last year. So he's a high pedigree. Someone else to keep an eye on there, and what I'll wrap up here and say is I know a lot of people are expecting this team to take shape before February 26th, which is their first game against FC Dallas, and I don't expect that to be the case whatsoever. There's a lot of transactions still to be done, and I actually expect it to be a really busy summer for Toronto FC. So don't get too frustrated, because when I say busy summer, I mean like big things, and we're not just talking Lorenzo Insigne. So be ready for the summer for Toronto FC, and we'll see if any of that actually comes to fruition. But right now, that's the way it's shaping up, and TFC have a lot of money to play with, so I know they are far from finished.
You also scooped. I know you got to go, but what was the player you scooped with his Instagram post? The bet on yourself.
Oh, you're talking about Kobe Franklin, which is
Yeah.
really disappointing, honestly, because Mitch and I were both talking about how high we are on this kid. 18-year-old. He played on that U17 Canadian 2019 team that went to Brazil. Jaden Nelson was on that team. Ralph Priso was on that team. DeAndre Kerr was on that team. So he had really high pedigree, and Kobe Franklin, of course, was with them. And he was a right back who, I mean, he looked really good when I watched him, and he definitely looked like he was ready for USL when he was playing there just as an 18-year-old. And it's
Absolutely.
not very often you say that for a young player. So I was disappointed to see TFC not be able to get that over the line. I know he was offered a contract to sign with the first team, and tweeting out bet on yourself or putting that on Instagram, I mean, that kind of alludes to maybe this guy has bigger plans, wasn't content with the contract. I don't know what it was, but clearly the two sides couldn't come together and I guess get that across the line. Yeah,
it is disappointing, but kudos for the scoop, man. I mean, that's what you do now, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful to witness, especially considering that outside backs are such a point in need for TFC right now. It's almost doubly disappointing. But yeah, I mean,
do you need a bounce, Mike, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out, guys. But
all right,
have a good rest of the show. Right. Lots to talk about.
Yeah,
and stay tuned because I'll have some tidbits from talking to Bob Bradley.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Sounds good. Yeah. Texas, if anything crazy happens here. But yeah, it's just the two of us left. It's been a while.
It's been a while, Mitch. What are we going to do? Where are we going to go next? I mean, we've done the Josmer, we've done the Seba. Do we break Tej's heart and talk about Oro Jr., Mr. Two Tattoos?
the rights of Arby's for a little bit here first. No, yeah, I do think we
I
should
don't-
talk about
yeah,
Aro, because that is certainly one that came again when I'm talking about moves that came out of left field. This is probably or right field, depending upon
or midfield, if you're
midfield, yeah,
Chris
depending
Armas.
if it's a Chris Armas system. Yeah, I mean, it's been a fullback exodus because not only
Yep.
Aro, but Kamar Lawrence wasn't on that training camp roster either. So
and then the other guy, the one that we haven't even seen
right.
play, bet on himself and not TFC. So
yeah.
I mean, we're at least nobody's saying we need center backs anymore. Can we at least celebrate the fact that we're sorted at center back? Like we've taken care of, we've slain that dragon.
Yeah.
Kamar Lawrence is an interesting one. I mean, when we signed him under Armas, I was like, didn't they have a falling out at Red Bull? Like, of all the people he's going to bring with him to TFC, why is it the guy that he had a public beef with? So, that struck me as a weird deal. And I don't want to speak for Mike Singh, but did he ever really settle in with the team? Really? Between all the international breaks, being deputized at center back, the Armas to Javi situation. I don't want to paint him as a bad presence in the locker room because we've heard nothing about it. But if we have to speculate as to why he wasn't re-signed, or why he's no longer continuing with TFC. And again, this has not been confirmed yet. We're just going off the roster announcement.
Well,
you have to
off field even. It didn't work out on field. I mean,
any
of the systems, and who knows what Bob Bradley's clearly got some kind of plan here that doesn't fit the current roster because that
let's hope.
Well, yeah, that much is abundantly clear. But like on field, he just certainly didn't play up to the standard that we would have thought of a player coming from a top Belgian side would bring. So it might just simply be down to that. There might be nothing to do with anything off the field,
personality wise, etc. Yeah.
The international thing is a good point. Like that is tricky for a player to get settled, and then especially during the COVID-19 pandemic when there's so many international windows and also just all the craziness that has come with all the quarantines and different things. Like that's got to be stop-start as anything.
Absolutely. So, Oro, I mean, do you have any theories, any tinfoil hat theories as to why this transpired?
I mean, the only thing that really makes sense to me right now is that they're just looking at a different system, and they might be doing a 3 center back and playing wing backs, which I think would make sense considering another bit of tidbit news that we'll talk about in a second here, but. That's the only thing that makes sense to me because I don't know. I think considering what Aro never scored a goal for Toronto FC, he wasn't like the most amazing crosser of the ball. He was good, but like
he was good.
Yeah, but like I think there's other guys who on the offensive side that Toronto FC already have could be better. That's the only thing that makes sense to me is that Toronto FC is trying out a new system here, and Aro doesn't necessarily fit securely in that system.
I mean, it's disappointing because he's been, like forget about the Tsubasa Endos and the Nick DeLeons of the world. I mean, this guy has been so resolute for so long, just so solid. And forget about a
club that hasn't had nearly enough of those players.
Exactly, and we're not going to take him to task for that midfield experiment because but I'm inclined to agree with you. Bob has a plan. I guess he's of the mind that we don't need warm bodies, but I'm looking at the roster, I'm inclined to disagree, but I guess he's of the mind that better to, and again, we don't know the specifics of the deal. I think the rumor is a loan move, because he's in the last year of his contract now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rumor is loan to Santos in Brazil. Yes.
Right. So I guess it's just to get it's not to get his salary off the books because it's a loan move, right? So,
it still gets the salary off the books, but
right.
But yeah, it's not like he's making a significant amount of money. It's what $300K, something like that. Like it's not it's not a prohibitive amount of money. I mean,
I'm grasping at straws here because I don't understand it, and to be fair, it kind of drives me crazy. Not as bad as Tej, but it certainly struck me as odd.
I think you categorize it in the same category as the Mark Delgado move, where these were two guys that we wouldn't have necessarily when we're crossing out guys in the starting 11 or on the roster that needed to leave the club in order for there to be an overhaul, these were two guys who certainly wouldn't have been on that list, I think, for either of us. So that's what I think makes it all the more surprising, is when you had so much that you needed to sending out two guys who it doesn't seem like needed to leave. That's what I think is making it so tricky.
But by your suggestion, they don't belong anymore. There's no room for them in the
that's
Bob
the only
Bradley
thing
system.
That would make sense. Is that they don't I think Mark Delgado's a player that works in almost any system, but
with Mark it was about getting maximum value for him, because the LA Galaxy is only going to come looking for him on maxed ham once, right? And maybe that was so, but with this loan move to Santos, it's like I don't get it. I mean, I don't think we're going to understand this move until we start to see this roster and the play style take shape. So I think it's fair to say right now, be upset, because it makes honestly no sense. And maybe take a look in the mirror. It's so easy for us to say, we have to get over 2017, even though we didn't play on the 2017 team. But we've got to, we've got to move on from 2017. And the reality is moves like this, where you're just like, you're almost in a state of shock. I think Mike Newell said it best. Like, nobody expected it to happen this quickly because of the rules of a rebuild, right? But we've been sitting on this rebuild for a bunch of seasons, and Bob doesn't like to waste time. So maybe we should have been a bit more in expectation of this coming, right? Because he's making the moves that we maybe should have done 2 years ago, 3 years ago, all at once. So it's a bit bracing, that's for damn sure, And then you look at that roster and you're like, what the hey? But a good segue before we get into Jesus Jimenez is. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I did have a couple points that I wanted to make on this.
Go ahead.
One thing that came to me as well is, Bob Bradley does have experience with this. His last project before this one was literally an expansion side. So this is a guy who's used to having a roster that just randomly comes together and
very
shaping
fair
it into something very successful. The other thing is that it's pretty abundantly clear at this point that he's being given carte blanche to operate here with his roster, because this is in no way the way Bill Manning operates. Bill Manning's all about consistency and keeping the same roster together and that same core together as much as possible. And that is very much not what has happened this offseason.
Yeah, Bob has lit fire to that. So absolutely. My segue was going to be in reference to Wheels' quote, which is correct me if I'm wrong, but the first sort of explicit mention that we may be seeing Schaffel fullback and JMR as fullback in a let's not even worry about formation, but it would be a 3-4-3. We've heard inklings of this. I mean, Mike Singh has given us inklings of this. I'm excited. I think Schaff might be a real interesting fullback, especially a modern attacking fullback. And I feel the same way about JMR on the opposite side. I wonder what your feelings are on that.
I think I'm even more excited about JMR because, again, this is a player who most of his career has been kind of playing that attacking kind of winger role for a lot of the teams, and that makes sense at the youth level. And I think there might be a point where it makes sense at the senior level too. But the thing that's always been amazing about Jahkeele Marshall-Rutty is the way he thinks the game and the way he is mature beyond his years in that capacity. And having that defensive responsibility and being able to build out from the back as he would in this position is really fits his talents very well, I think. And it doesn't put that same pressure on him to be the guy who finishes off these moves or even plays that last pass, but he can play his role. And think about some of the best moments we've seen from Jahkeele Marshall-Rutty.
I agree.
In a Toronto FC shirt, it's been combining with people on that right side. So if he's got really, really good attacker ahead of him, that he can combine with and midfielder beside him, like I think that puts him in a massive position to succeed. And the same thing with Schaffelberg. I mean, that's going to be scary for a team when you've got Schaffelberg on the overlap running up behind, and they've got to deal with that as well. And we saw how many strides he made in terms of his distribution this year and passing. Like, I think that's going to be a great experiment. And I think that there's plenty of opportunity there.
Yeah, offensively, I can see the advantage of having these speedy pace guys have a bit more runway on the flanks, right? Like to build attacks and to combine. My worry is defensive responsibility, right? Like, because this seems to be a trend right now, like converting wingers into attacking fullbacks and moving them a bit deeper on the pitch. Are you concerned that they'll be able to handle the responsibility? I mean, these are young kids, so obviously their brains are sponges and et cetera, et cetera. But I've got to think that adding an entire facet to your game, that defensive responsibility, is a huge ask.
Well, that's why I'd imagine they'll be bringing in a veteran who can kind of play along that back line as well. So they'll have one guy like that, and you see it with Canada, right? Like. You can afford to have one super attacking fullback if the other one's willing to tuck in and play in that back four. Or like in theory, again, this is just us reading heavily into the tea leaves of what we think Bob Bradley will do based on a very, very skeleton roster and some of the things we're hearing. So based on what we're imagining right now, that's probably going to start the season with a back three. Yeah, you see that with Canada, right? Like if you have one who's defensively responsible and can tuck in, the other one can just go crazy and do whatever they want.
The Tajon Ulster Johnson
exactly. Yeah, perfect.
But I mean that would have been Oro. So once again, I'm left holding this giant bag of confusion. But it is exciting. I mean, like more minutes for Schaff is we've all been screaming for, and everybody and their mother has been screaming for JMR to prove himself. I gotta wonder, switching JMR to a fullback, does that affect the interest of the clubs like Arsenal that was Jaquil, but does that affect how he gets scouted? I mean, does that basically reset who's looking for him and what numbers they're looking at?
Maybe. I mean, it is an interesting one because I do think the modern wingback is in so much demand right now because there's such an important part of everything. And I mean, one of the teams that's been looking at him very heavily is Liverpool, and that's central to their system is having
their system.
Their Robertson on those sides. So if he can learn that role, I think honestly it ups his value a little bit just because I think he's going to get more opportunity in that position. And again, I think it leads to other facets of his game other than raw numbers, like raw goals and assists being looked upon and being learned. So, yeah.
So knowing that we potentially found two outside backs, modern fullbacks, under the couch cushions, how worried? Like, does that change your opinion on where TFC needs to go and what kind of players they need to sign moving into 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought this, but in terms of defense, having someone who's flexible, who can play either a center back or fullback role, right? Like having a Greg Vanderveel or someone like that. Maybe that's a bad example considering how he turned out.
Or Kamar Lawrence, but he's gone now.
yeah, fair. Yeah, I mean, you'd think they want at least one or two of those that can fit into that system. In theory, this would mean less midfielders that they need to bring in. So they might be more solid in that position than we thought. But yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. Again, it's so bare bones that it's hard to know what direction Bob's going in. This is just us reading with what we currently have and the current information we have, but we're not at training camp. No one's there. Like this is such a tricky time to talk about the Toronto FC roster. I guess we really won't know until opening day.
No, we won't. And I mean, you segue perfectly into covering training camp from a distance, which unfortunately skips our new forward. But yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot more than we were the last two seasons, certainly. I can understand. Certainly, if you look at the media drop for the first preseason window versus the one that the club dropped yesterday, we're getting a lot more detail, and we're getting some live streams too, so we can see some stuff. I guess the first window they had to be a little bit more careful because there were so many trialists, and the verdict was still out on Seba, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that a few more things have been settled, we're going to get some more access. What do we think of is it Jesus or Jesus Is it Jimenez or Jimenez? What are we doing here?
Well, I'd imagine it's Spanish, so it's like he is from Spain, so it's Jesus Jimenez, just based on pronunciation.
Jesus Jimenez. Nobody
rules,
messes with the Jesus.
This isn't a Julio Cesar situation, but I did want to quickly because chat's been asking us a lot about this, but Mike tweeting from the press conference, Bob Bradley on the Auro Kumar Lawrence situation, quote, their situations are up in the air. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. When I first got here, I immediately got a sense when I got here that there are some guys in different places, guys who weren't as committed to the club. So there's an interesting one there. Well,
I mean, when he first got there, I don't think anybody was committed to the club, right? It was just, you know what I mean? So
it was Michael Bradley and
and no one. Exactly. It was Michael Bradley and an empty locker room. So but again, you know, this is why we hired Bob Bradley, right or wrong, the man's got opinions, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, this is par for the course. If Bob says no, this is the horse we bet on, right? So we got to go in gun as he hasn't even coached a game of competitive football for us yet. So let's give the man a chance to establish his identity. I mean, it's okay to be a bit hurt about it, but you know, rolling around again. What do we know about this guy? He's from the Polish First Division, I want to say.
Polish First Division. I mean, I think this is why we haven't gotten to this yet, even though it's a new signing. And by all
on a scale of 1 to Terrence Boyd, who is this guy?
Well, I mean, his numbers, which is all I have to go on here because I don't know about you, but I'm not a regular watcher of the Polish.
I tried the highlight reel, then the dubstep wob hit, and I had to turn it off. I just couldn't. Yeah.
Who's the Canadian? Chris Twardek. That was the Canadian that played in that division for a while. So if there was ever a match I would have watched, it would have been him. But even then, I haven't checked it out. But at any rate, I mean, 28-year-old. He's a winger striker, so you got some flexibility there in terms of his ability up top. 121 matches with his current club that I'm not going to try to pronounce.
Don't even bother.
I don't want to offend the Polish community. And 37 goals during that time, so pretty productive for a winger.
Wait, what's the number? It's how many games per goal?
121 games, 37 goals. So for a winger, that's not bad at all. So I mean, it's by all looks of things, I mean, it's trying to find a diamond in the rough. It's not a traditional league that that's going to make headlines or anything like that, but it's a player that's been very productive at a high level for a very long time. And this could be a Bob Bradley special here, where Toronto FC's scouting staff bring in a player that's undervalued somewhere in the world and get decent ability for him.
Yeah, cheers. Will Dunn just said what I was thinking, but I couldn't confirm it. Didn't someone check and he was more productive than Adam Buksa was at the same age, or equal to?
I mean, Buksa's much younger though, isn't he? This guy's 28. Buksa is.
Yeah, I think he's older than Buksa. So it's just interesting that we're replacing Josie with a Polish guy, and he's probably going to be replacing a Polish guy on his new team. Everything time is a flat circle.
25, so
okay.
So it's probably not a perfect comparison there, but still, I mean,
taking chances on wingers, it's like a TFC tradition, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, the bar is very low for this guy. He could come in and I guess they're Piazzi and Benazet. There's been some okay wingers. But certainly it's a position that's never ever worked out for Toronto FC so far. So they've got a pretty good one coming though. So I don't think there's gonna be a lot of pressure on this guy to deliver massively.
So you think he's a depth piece? Like he's not going to be leading the line?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be leading the line necessarily, but he does fit in nicely with the Ayo Akinola, with all those other young guys, DeAndre Kerr that have fit in. He's another nice piece, and I like the flexibility as well, based on again the limited transfer market profile of the player. That we're not going to sit here and pretend we know a significant amount about this.
No, but once we see him in a live stream, we will both be experts on him, and we'll be able to pronounce. Yeah, for sure. Just one live stream, and then we're gonna go. Does that take us through TFC?
I think so.
It's amazing the amount of time we've talked about a roster that's 5 people at this moment.
Exactly.
Let's bring it home and and talk some Canada national teams. I know you're excited about the women's roster that dropped because one of your interviews. What Darby issue was it? The most recent one, or
Yeah, that was
couple back?
issue 1. I swear once a week I get yelled at because I get our name, or like I've been calling it issue 3 even though it's issue 2.
I don't know why you started with issue 0, man. That was way too hipster, and now you're gonna you're gonna suffer. Yeah,
blame Ryan Abrams for that one. But yeah, no, I think that I mean, obviously. Well, yeah, okay. Sorry, we're talking about the Canada women's roster. I got off track there, but yeah, no, some interesting names in there. I mean, obviously Sinclair.
Our hearts go out to her and her family. Yeah. Deepest condolences.
Yeah, I mean, just a massive credit to her and her mom for everything they've done for multiple sclerosis research here in Canada, and yeah, been huge in that capacity. All the money they've raised. So yeah, I mean. The mother of the greatest soccer player of all time, and has used that platform for an incredible reason. There's a lot of exciting younger players in this roster. We're seeing a bit of the goalkeeper turnover. Devin Kerr was the name you were pulling from the Darby Magazine, who we called Canada's next keeper in the issue.
Nice.
Obviously with some player, Riley Foster, unfortunately, another person who our hearts go out to. Massive car accident playing for Liverpool, so it might be a while before she returns to that fold. So, an opportunity for Devon to show what she can do as Canada transitions from Steph Labbe, and you'd think in some recent or some near future, Aaron McLeod will be out as well.
Yep.
So that honestly, that's one of the positions that I'm looking at most interested.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are.
Yeah.
What do you think about this tournament? I mean, obviously the level of competition is pretty high.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the Canadian women's national team heading off to England for this sort of round robin competition?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they need to keep themselves at that super high level right now, and look, there's a lot going into this. Obviously the Mexico camp was not great for the national team. I don't think they didn't have the best games and things were difficult, but I think this is a good opportunity to continue to play at that high level and to get that next generation. I mean, we're talking about Jordan Heidema, who's probably
you got to blood them.
Significant minutes. Grosso, obviously, I mean, both of them have played significant time for Canada, but it's another opportunity to keep getting them those big games. So Canada's was top of the world this past summer. You might as well keep playing like you are.
So just to close out this one, what is a successful tournament for you?
I don't know if it's hugely results focused. I think offensively, there's a lot of questions about this team. So if they can score a number of goals, I'll be very happy, regardless of the results.
Me too.
And I think, it's more about the way they play, building into obviously World Cup qualifying that will really be what matters, and everything after that.
Is it fair to say that the team under Bev still needs to find an attacking identity?
Sure. I mean, how many goals did they score at the Olympics that were
not a lot
goals? Not a lot.
Not a lot. It always gives me pause, and I'm remiss to do it because we are talking about the Olympic champions, right?
Yes,
so to say that they don't have an identity feels a bit false, but
they clearly do, and obviously their backline, based on that Olympic tournament as well, is up there.
Exactly
for best in the world. So you don't want to compromise all the work that they've done in that capacity, because that's going to win you games in tournaments, and that's ultimately what matters. But there's certainly work to be done on the offense, and that's why it's exciting that there's some players that are going to be given opportunities here. Obviously, Chloe Lacazette is one of those players that I think a lot of people are hoping will get more of an opportunity, because she scores goals for fun in Portugal. So.
Yeah, isn't that Ryan, our friend of the pod, Ryan Lindsay's favorite attacking prospect for the Canadian women's national team?
Yeah.
I think it might be.
So, yeah.
I think it might be.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I mean, I think it's important to blood some of these attack-minded players and just sort of get more cohesion in strategies and moving forward, so that it's less of all hands on deck kind of panic whenever an attack happens with the Canadian women's national team. can we get to the big dance? You want to move on to the big dance right now?
Sure, yeah. Sorry, people just keep messaging me about.
No, go ahead. Let me know.
The things that Bradley's been saying, but we can expect an announcement in regards to Josie Altidore shortly.
Okay.
So yeah, there's that. Anyway,
yeah. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'd be very surprised if it isn't exactly what's been bandied around for the last.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think there's any surprises coming here.
We'll find out. It's a 7-year guaranteed contract. Yeah.
I mean, Mike dropped that kind of surprise earlier in the show that I thought was cut and dry. So,
I mean, to be honest, I suspected it right away because the impetus of that Seba deal was they basically walked over with a big bag of money and they said, "Listen, we just lost our. Is he a striker? I mean, why they would hire Seba to be their starting striker is another thing altogether. But whatever his position was, they lost a guy. He's out. They got to finish their season. And I think in the calculus with TFC, they were like, we're number 2 on the allocation order right now. There's a very good chance by the summer we'll be number 1 through no fault of our own. I mean, remember that one year where for whatever reason, we couldn't get rid of being number 1 on the allocation order. We kept selling it. And it came back to us. It didn't want to leave. And we just had it forever. It's amazing. We sure as hell could have used that right now, but I feel like that entered the calculus. God, it's gonna be such a fun season. Like one of my favorite things about MLS is that we get the supporter shield, which is like the attempt at the European style, like, oh yeah, the season matters, and then we also get playoffs, right? So this year we might be the champions when Insigne comes in the summer, but we're also going to have a relegation battle before the summer because there'll be like 5 guys on the squad, and we'll out Seattle because, as I said, I said on Twitter, maybe it'd be fun to punt until July and just try in Seattle. And somebody called me on it and said, yeah, but Seattle were still good, they had a roster, right? Like we don't have a roster. So we could out Seattle.
To be fair, that 2016 team was not good when that Seattle.
This is true. This is true. And let's not forget, it's not like we don't have Paz and Oso and Akinola, lining up at the beginning of the year. All right, let's get to the big dance. Let's do it because I mean, this is dreamland, buddy. I have no frame of reference. This is dreamland. Like, if you had told me 6 months ago that we'd be having this conversation, I would have slapped you and said, don't play with my feelings like that. Like, can you believe it? I mean,
no.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned calculus, and as Tag said earlier, Canada going down to Costa Rica, a win and they're in at this point. A draw, if Panama can't beat Honduras or the U.S. doesn't beat Mexico, they're going to the World Cup. A loss, if Panama can't beat Honduras and the United States lose to Mexico, they're in. All these fairly possible scenarios. So, I mean, it's literally just a matter of time.
A matter of time.
I mean, they basically have that fourth. Like, they don't officially have that 4th spot locked up, but Costa Rica would have to outscore them by, I think it's 13 goals over those 3 games. But
I don't want the 4th spot. I don't want it.
And I mean, at this point, there's no reason to think they shouldn't want that 1st spot. Like, they have the U.S. and Mexico out of the way already. Those teams can't take points out of that. Like, there's no reason to let off the pedal right now. You go for trying to be the Invincibles of World Cup qualifying, which is absurd to say.
It's
try and
absurd.
Get that top spot. And because now there's the carrot dangling of they could get into a better pot for World Cup qualifying, which again, the fact that
is mental.
We're talking about not only Canada qualifying for a World Cup, they might qualify in first, they might go undefeated, and now we're talking about what pot we want them to get into in the World Cup so they can have a better draw. Like
the other thing is that most coaches, I think most coaches would err on the side of caution right now. Like, we've got this in the bag. Maybe let's not risk injuries. I don't think Herdman's that guy. No. I think Herdman's just like, let's kick some more ass and just, go into this screaming. And that's it's just fantastic. A tweet that I put out that did a lot of numbers over the last week was, and again, I wasn't reinventing the wheel. I was sort of just vocalizing what everybody's been saying. But what a blessing to have that insane run up to just get into the octo. I mean, and I mean, it sucked when we were worried about Suriname, but looking back in retrospect, I mean, so much of this run in the octo is almost a direct consequence of all that team building and all that bonding and all those trips and figuring out how to deal with Bayern Munich and with Lille, like when there wasn't qualification on the line. It's such a good story. And it's almost, I know we don't have to qualify for 2026, but can we just pretend we do? Because I want more, I want more games and stuff like that. But yeah, like this is dreamland. It's absolute dreamland. Anybody that said they saw it coming is lying. And anybody that isn't just perpetually pinching themselves is also lying, because, just looking at it, looking at the table gives me such a dopamine hit. I'm sure it's entirely more for you because you've suffered through so much of this, but like the sky's the limit, man. And that's crazy. And this team is so deadly on the counter and so deadly in transition. I don't care who they line up against. Like, you can't tell me that, Brazil isn't going to leave them space to do a Canada. You can't tell me that Germany isn't going to cede one or two moments in game action, where we can pull a Canada. It's scary, it really is. We could do some serious damage in this World Cup. And that's just nutty bunny, man. That's wow. You know what I mean?
Go. Brad Humber saying that Canada's guaranteed top 4. So, I mean, again, that's not where they're going to be or where we want them to be. But
and I don't want 4 after this. I do not want a playoff,
and no chance they end up in 4.
Don't never say never. I hate jinxing, but all right. Like,
I mean, at this point.
Just means you have to wear that beanie for the rest of your days, just to double down on the karma. I mean, what else can we say about this team, about these personalities, about the next man up, about the brotherhood, about Borjan's sweatpants, about the crowd at Tim Hortons Field?
Yeah.
I mean, what else can we say about this? Like, it's dreamland. It really is. It's about Fonzie, like introducing every middle-aged Canadian soccer fan to Twitch, and now suddenly they're all on Twitch. Like the runoff in this is nuts. The only thing I will say is I've given Nike and CanSoc and Fanatics a whole lot of leeway. But when this refresh happens, if they don't have enough stock, and if I can't buy an Anthem jacket, I will riot. All right, you have to know that there's demand now. I want to see a full court press. Right, this isn't a situation. Well, this isn't a situation where people are going to complain like they are with the Lululemon mittens. The Hudson Bay ones were $6 and the Lululemon ones are $65. Like, what happened? People will just be like, "Give me the mittens. I don't care. Take my money." So. To leave that kind of cash on the table. I want to see 5 documentaries about this team. Like, if there wasn't a camera crew following them around to Suriname and stuff like that, I'm desperate for an all or nothing Canadian men's national team. So that better be happening. Anything else, Mitch? I mean, we're gonna be talking about this a lot, because 6 weeks is never going to seem longer ever than it will to get to the next qualifying window.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I think we're just giddy at this point about any time we just talk about the Canadian men's national team. It's just
crazy giddy, crazy giddy. Another thing that we're giddy about, which brings us to the end of our rundown, is Justin Morrow and his new position with the front office. I think did you catch when Brooklyn Fell tweeted that she no longer has to worry about accidentally framing his desk behind her in any of her Zoom chats and giving the whole thing away? I thought that was hilarious. So, what did he take Jason Hernandez's job, or are they like splitting the duties now, or what exactly is he doing for the team?
That I don't know about. I can just tell you directly what his role is with the club, and obviously he hinted at this weeks ago when he was on our show, and
he sure did
about a week ago. But it still certainly deserves mention, considering what Morrow's done for the club and what now he will continue to do for the club as the technical development manager, which means he's gonna
TDM.
TDM. Yeah, he's gonna work. Yeah, there were so many short forms in that press guide, but anyway, he'll assist with the pathway of development between the academy, Toronto FC 2, and the first team. and as well as that, which I think obviously is an important part of this role as well, and something that we wanted to see JMO do is lead the equity and diversity and inclusion efforts in collaboration with MLSE. So
unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect role for JMO, I think, and obviously we talk about this all the time, but the importance of keeping good guys like that around the club in capacity and just around Canadian soccer in general.
Absolutely.
So JMO
couldn't be
one of those
happier.
guys. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, really couldn't be happier. Before we wrap, we got a question here.
Sure.
And what's happening with the rights to broadcast games, and will One Soccer still have them? Is this with respect to the Canadian men's national team? I mean, they've got them until World Cup, through World Cup, right? Like that was the deal. So no, I wouldn't expect One Soccer to not be playing Canadian men's, women's national team games for the rest of most of our lifetimes at this point. It's a done deal. It's a great service, and it's only getting more better. So yeah, to answer your question there, more better.
Yeah.
I think that's it, Mitchell.
Yeah, that is it. Brad Humber just clarifying that Jason Hernandez is the assistant general manager, player personnel, engagement, and strategy. Whereas now,
so the Agumpus.
Nice.
He's the Agumpus. Nice. He's the assistant to the assistant to the assistant general manager of assistant general manager. Just for funsies.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing that JMO didn't scoop Jason Hernandez's job. Also,
you joked about that on the show, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
And he didn't confirm or deny it either. So I low-key legit thought that he might actually be doing that, and that I had blown it all wide open. So it's nice to know that I didn't, and that everybody's happy and employed. Brad is saying Fox in the States uses their own guys. I wish there was context to this. Oh, the TV deal. Their broadcast commentators use the world feed. What are we talking about here? In the World Cup? That's an interesting question.
Oh boy. I feel like this is a can of worms.
Yeah, it's a huge can of worms.
We don't need to open here. Well, we'll get there.
I mean, Brad, if we use the Fox guys, you would have to pay them in Canadian dollars because you're using your simulcasting. So I imagine TSN would have its own commentating, but if they're using One Soccer's feed, then One Soccer kind of has the ability to kind of dictate who's doing the play-by-play. So I would imagine it's going to be worked out. Somebody will be calling games. Who it is, nobody knows. It could be Mitch. It could be me. Who knows? It's we've only got a couple months to figure it out.
We can put my number on the screen here if anyone wants. Please don't do that. That brings us to the end of our show. That wraps us up. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much to Tagwa for joining us. You're getting the outro ready there, Jeff?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. And thanks to all of you for listening. We really do appreciate all the reviews and people reaching out.
There's been some good ones.
Yeah, there's been some really nice things written, and neither Jeff or Mike are claiming that they did it. So I think they might actually be real reviews. So we really do.
There's a review. There's actually a review by me from when I wasn't on the show, and it was just you that they haven't taken down, which is pretty amazing that I'm giving a 5-star review to my own show. But there you go.
But it turns out the other ones aren't from us, so they are from genuine people, and we really do appreciate that. I believe we're building something special here and continue to with this community, and we appreciate all the comments as well. Most of the comments, we read them all, and they do help us guide our show, as you've seen today and with every episode. So it's always great.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Mitchell Tierney on behalf of Jeffrey P. Nesker and Michael Singh. Till next Tuesday.